Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. My name is Bliss Foster. Welcome back. We're doing part 2 of the brands to be looking for in 2021. Some of these brands are just now emerging. They haven't done anything in the past and they're just now beginning. And some of them have been established for a while and they are poised to blow up. If you didn't see part 1, that's worth checking out. There's not really any technical continuity between these except for the fact that I couldn't fit them all into a single episode. All of the brands are in no particular order. I don't see any reason for us to keep talking like this. Let's get into the list. Firstly, I want to talk about somebody who I am extremely excited to see the beginning of their career begin to blossom. Jordan Arthur Smith is the kind of success story that many young people in this fashion universe that we occupy dream about. He took an interest in fashion, taught himself how to sew, dropped out of school, and is now releasing a fucking dynamite collection that just actually dropped. Like, this is the first stuff that he's ever put out. Jordan is an example of high risk, high reward tailoring. We love to talk about this idea of like, oh, you should design like anything is possible, but very rarely do I see someone who emerges from the studio with work that follows that advice in a literal way. Designers who have no regard for limits can only be successful if they back that up with highly technical tailoring chops, and Jordan brings that in spades. For how wild some of these ideas are, the execution is so precise that I can't help but be impressed by this stuff. I mean, the outerwear, for example, is transformable. This is a level of transformability in outerwear that I don't see coming out of any of the major brands who have way more resources to execute this kind of thing than someone who is making this stuff literally in his apartment. And again, from a technical standpoint, it's there. Additionally, there's some really excellent experiments with dye techniques in this collection, most notably this bacteria dye that's been worked and reworked into a simple but very captivating result. I've promoted Jordan stuff a few times on my Instagram, and every time I'm talking to people about him online, I always say that Jordan Arthur Smith is everyone's favorite designer in 10 years. Moving on. Ottolinger. These cats were specifically selected because of their bold, well-executed product. They keep a way wider range of products than most brands who are in the kind of niche that they occupy. They do a full range of women's wear that includes some incredibly badass bags and some really cool jewelry. This is one of the brands from the list that is a little bit more established than other ones, but I think that they are perfectly positioned to really hit the zeitgeist and start gaining some massive traction in 2021. One thing that really caught my eye with them is this interesting stuff they're doing with Trompe l'oeil. Most of the time, this effect is trying to trick your eye in as a straightforward manner as is possible. Stephen Cook's brilliant Trompe l'oeil work is a great example of that. I mean, a lot of the old undercover stuff, a lot of the Margiela stuff that we idolize from the past, this is all kind of doing Trompe l'oeil in a way where it's trying to very literally trick your eye into thinking that you are looking at something that you are not. But Ottolinger uses Trompe l'oeil in this way that kind of causes visual distortion, to where you kind of look at a piece like this and you're not even really sure what it is exactly that you're even supposed to be seeing. I like that. I mean, Trompe l'oeil is an interesting effect all on its own, but this is an even further interesting flip that kind of takes it to another level. They have this kind of strappy dress that's sort of the signature item that recurs every single season, but I just really love that something like this can even exist. I mean, outerwear like this is a pretty common thing on the runway where we're seeing this kind of fantastical vision of what the designer's going for, but then when the final product comes out, it's often some very played down version of that. But for them to be releasing something that is this bold when they are a company that is on this level, this size of company, that's just a very rare thing, and I applaud them and I wish them all success in the world. Quick reminder, just like the first brands to watch in 2021 video, all the links to get on their Instagrams are down in the description, and more importantly, all of the links to actually buy this stuff are also down in the description. Like, you should go cop stuff from these brands. These are ones that are really earning your money and are at a size where you can kind of put people onto a cool brand that they didn't know about. Next up on the list that is in no particular order, Charlotte Knowles. Charlotte Knowles seems to thrive on good balance of design. They seem to weave a lot of nostalgia into their designs, but then there are things like their Hydra bag, which is crazy innovative. I mean, I like bags and I carry one sometimes, but I very rarely see a women's handbag that gives me that I want feeling. And that feeling is happening real heavy with the Hydra bag. Knowles seems to be approaching retro aesthetics and retro prints, but updates them with very contemporary motifs. The tactical stuff specifically is a great example of this. We see a lot of pining for this kind of classical femininity with the shape of these garments, but then we sort of rough it up with a sort of 2021 sensibility with these militaristic kind of tactical details. The bustier specifically is something that feels like a masterstroke from the kind of design philosophy that they carry. The prints also seem very uniquely multifaceted as well. For example, the what's called the Exos pants seem distinctly retro 70s. Like I look at this and it looks like that is like 100% like the best thing that you've ever found at a thrift store type of pant. But then when it's used in the context of the Exos jacket, the same print feels very contemporary. I don't feel like that's something that I would find in a vintage store. It looks like something that would come out this season. A really popular item for them are their bras. I'm always drawn to items that manage to do a lot with very few elements. Like, you know, if a person is doing a backflip out on a mat in a gym, that's impressive, of course, but I'm always really interested in people who are able to execute a backflip in a broom closet. Not a lot of room to work with, but you're still able to do something really fantastic. The choice of hardware and the fabric and the absence of structure, everything looks great on its own, and it's something that I feel like I haven't seen before. And it's also an excellent piece for layering. Their stylization for these things is stellar. We're moving so fast today, aren't we? This is great. Botter. Botter's been around for a few years, but I feel like their time is finally arriving. Their look has crystallized. You might have seen this tee that went viral a few years ago. I still want this thing so badly. The brand was co-founded and is co-creatively directed by Lisi Herrenbrew and the brand's namesake, Rishami Botter. Rishami was born in the Caribbean, and the two seem to lean into that culture a lot for their design inspiration. Interestingly, they mentioned to Vogue a while back that most people tend to think of the tourist culture when they think of the Caribbean, but they're wanting to celebrate the actual culture that's there. The thing that really makes them stand out for me is this fascinating exploration of new silhouettes for men's tops. Stuff like this seems like it's a lookbook only type of thing until I saw them style it very effortlessly, surprisingly effortlessly over other basics. And it gives this very new look that I'm not sure I've seen anywhere else before. It's great. Ultimately, the litmus test for every brand comes down to, is this purposeful? Was this done in a considered way? And I think that Botter carries that in spades. And this blue striped polo is phenomenal. Especially this thing with the cape and the shoulder shape is just incredible on this. This seems like an interesting direction that we can start heading in for this very oversized look that we're all seeming to participate in now. Also, to me, it's always very interesting when brands are able to successfully be funny with their clothes, if they can sew a joke. And stuff like this kind of keeps that sort of lighthearted feel to it that, I look at this and this is genuinely funny to me. It's great, it's well executed. I'm not making fun of it. It's just that they've successfully pulled off making a funny garment. Both the founders also have a second job being creative directors for the brand Nina Ricci, and it seems like since they got that position, they've only improved with their home brand. That's a pretty rare thing for designers. Usually when they get a big job at a more major label than their own, it tends to weaken the home collections a little bit, but that doesn't seem to be the case at all with these two. They multitask very, very efficiently. Finally, last one on the list, Kanghyuk. You've likely seen these guys work before. Their airbag sneaker made heavy rounds on Twitter and Tumblr a few years ago. But like a lot of brands, success doesn't hinge on a single idea, but by building a world from which you can comfortably explore for many seasons to come. These guys have been around since 2016, but I think at this point they've proven that idea of basing things kind of loosely off of industrial manufacturing and airbags in general, that this is an idea that they have a litany of ideas for. And I'm always really impressed when I see whole collections that on paper wouldn't seem like they would be a complete idea, and then it ends up being executed in a way that I would have never expected for it to. These guys have a pretty limited scope that they've set up for themselves, but they just do so much with it, and so much of it looks like product that I would want to actually own, that I'm just so impressed at the sheer ingenuity of this project. Think about that. Like, if you were told, like, our whole brand is based around, like, airbags and sort of the industrial labeling system that goes with stuff like that, I would maybe be like, that sounds like a great idea for a coat, but I don't know if there's a whole brand within that idea. Well, it's a good thing that no one asked me because this shit slaps. It's incredible. And season after season, it continues to be incredible. And the final product consistently looks like something that I would actually want to go and buy. These guys are fairly well established in their home of South Korea, but I'm hoping that in 2021, we kind of bring this look to the West a little bit because aesthetically, I think this is something that we would have a lot of use for. Excellent. Awesome. That's it. The brands that I'm looking forward to in 2021. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I actually got a lot of these recommendations through Instagram. I made a post saying like, I'm making these videos. What do you guys want to see me cover? And I was reminded of a couple things I forgot about, and you guys put me onto a lot of brands that I had not heard about at all. If anybody's curious, you can actually go to my Instagram and look through that post, and you can see in the comment section, there's just a wealth of brands to look through. There's a lot of really, really great stuff in there. Couldn't cover everything, but these are the ones that I was the most excited about personally. As always, go join the motherfucking Patreon. Independent journalism doesn't exist if people don't support it in a very literal way. If you like content like this, you want to see more of it, chip in, support your boy. There's more to come. I love you so much, I can't stand it. Bye.